When she got home, she locked herself up in her room and cried bitterly. She reflected on all the suffering she had been through for Ayo, just for him to abandon her and her kids to marry another woman. Ayo could not believe what he just heard from Sade. "Did you just say you're pregnant?" Ayo asked. Sade nodded in reply. "How can you be pregnant?" "No, you can't be. No, 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 no. Not in this our present situation." Sade was shocked at Ayo's response. "How can you say something like that to me, Ayo?" "Did I get myself pregnant?" Sade said in defense. "Look, Sade, you cannot be pregnant. We cannot afford for this to be happening right now. I would soon leave for NYSC, and you cannot possibly be handling pregnancy, the business, and Toby alone. We have a lot on our hands already, and now this?" Ayo said in frustration. Sade looked at him in anger and disgust. "What exactly are you saying, Ayo? You got me pregnant. Besides, I am the one that threw away my goals and youth because of you. I toiled day and night for this family, and yet you have not heard me complain for even a day. I do not see the reason why you should be complaining, to be honest," she concluded. Ayo's eyebrows arched. "So are you insinuating that I do not help out in this family, Sade?" Ayo asked. At this point, Ayo was out for a long emotional blackmail on Sade, which got her apologizing in no time, saying that she did not mean it that way. Before she knew what was happening, Ayo stormed out of the house. Sade was confused. She could not help but wonder how things escalated so quickly to that extent. She had never had such a huge fight with her husband before, so she was a bit disturbed. She couldn't sleep that night. She stayed awake, waiting for her husband to come back. Ayo did not come back until 2 a.m. that night. In addition to that, he came back very drunk, which was totally off and new for Sade. He just dived straight into bed and went into a deep sleep. However, he muttered some words under his breath twice. Sade listened carefully and heard, "I am so tired of all this." She didn't understand where that was coming from, so she decided to ask him about it the next day. The following morning, Sade spoke to Ayo about what happened the previous day. She asked him what the problem really was, because she didn't understand exactly where his anger was coming from. "Is it me? Did I say something you did not like? Because I've never seen you in such a mood before. Ayo, what's really going on with you?" she asked Ayo. Ayo simply apologized briefly, saying he was just basically overwhelmed with school and having to travel to another state for NYSC and having to deal with the new baby. He just went on and on rambling. Sade held his hands and reminded him of where they started from versus where they are today. She promised that everything was going to be fine, and even with the pregnancy, they would be alright. Ayo nodded. A couple of days passed and Ayo kept acting strange. He was no longer the jovial and happy Ayo Sade knew. He was now always irritated and frustrated at any and everything. Sade tried to stay away from him to avoid fights. One morning, Sade woke up and did not see Ayo. At first, she thought he left for a quick morning fresh air or something, until she saw a note lying on the table in their room. Her heart fell into her mouth. She trembled as she opened the letter, which read, "Dearest Sade, I appreciate everything you've ever done for me. I do not take them for granted at all. But I have to chase my future now. This was never the way I intended to take care of you. I have been a huge burden to you, and so I do not want to be that anymore. I am tired of watching you struggle every single day you wake up just for my sake and our sons. I am sorry I had to live like this. I am deeply, deeply sorry. I love you and Toby so much, and I always have you guys in my heart. Yours, Ayo. Shade sank into a nearby chair and struggled for air for a bit. She couldn't breathe properly. Am I dreaming? No, I must be dreaming, she said to herself. She was dumbfounded and in great shock. This was someone she gave everything to just wake up one day and decide to leave without goodbyes or any explanation or any hope of coming back. Is this a joke? Does Ayo want to kill me? She muttered as tears dropped from her eyes. Shade did not only cry, she wept so much that day that their neighbors thought someone had died. She felt so much pain that her heart ached. Shade planned to visit Ayo's best friend Mide to inquire if he had any idea on his friend's disappearance. On getting to Mide's house, his mom was at home and so she welcomed Shade warmly. However, she could not help but notice how swollen Shade's eyes were from crying. So she inquired what the problem was from her. Shade narrated the incident to Mide's mom without mincing words. Mide's mom could not believe Ayo would do such a thing. She immediately summoned on Mide to ask if he knew the whereabouts of Ayo. But Mide too was surprised as Ayo never mentioned his plans to him. Mama Mide then encouraged Shade to take heart and stay strong for her kids. She told her that her son Toby should be her source of strength and encouragement, and that she's certain that her kids would forever love and cherish her the way nobody else would. Just like before, Mama Mide reminded Shade of her experience and how she pulled through. She promised that time was all it was going to take, but that she was sure that Shade would get through this stronger and better. She went ahead to support Shade with some money and implored her to not hesitate to let her know of anything or any way she could be of help. Shade thanked Mama Mide so much and left. She took a very deep breath and went home feeling a new wave of strength. If Mama Mide could do it with absolutely nothing and no help, how about me that already has a small business? I just have to push smarter and stronger, Shade thought to herself. Her son, Toby, soon started asking about his father, but Shade always replied that he had gone to heaven because to her, Ayo was dead. She started thinking of how to expand and get better paycheck for her hustle. So an idea came to her mind. She was a great cook, and surely there were busy moms in her community who would not mind her coming to cook for them, or even sending them cooked foods in certain quantities for a fee. However, there was one challenge. She did not know how to go about executing this idea. So she spoke to Mide's mom, who now served as her only friend and motivator. Mama Mide was so impressed at such a brilliant idea. She helped Shade with tips and some basic packaging strategies, and in fact was the first to patronize her. She promised to advertise Shade to all her friends and colleagues so that she would build her customer base from there. Mama Mide did not stop there. She went ahead to introduce Shade to her most trusted lady agent, Agent City, who connected clients to vendors. And this was how Shade's business took off. Agent City was a hotline in Arin community. She had a sophisticated contact list, people that were ready to pay good money for comfort. So she agreed on a percentage with Shade. Her job was to find clients, bill them accordingly, and then connect them with Shade. Shade was super happy with this arrangement because this her new idea turned business took off with such a great speed that she did not expect. 15 years later, Sade had built a comfortable life for herself and her kids, Toby and Funke. They lived in the urban area of Arin and in a well-furnished apartment. She was comfortably paying for her kids' academics. Her son, Toby, was in his class 6, almost about to write JAMB for entry into the university, while her daughter, Funke, was in her junior secondary school. Although Sade and her kids were comfortable, luxury was still far from them. Sade still worked so hard that she barely turned down any job. It got to a point when her kids were hiding her handbag so that she would not go out but stay back and rest or hang out with them. But she always had a way of convincing them on why she worked that hard. I am only doing this so that none of you would go through what I went through growing up. So don't worry about me, my loves. Just focus on your studies, work hard so that you would make me proud. Then I can rest, she would always tell her kids. On one occasion, Agent Sisi called Sade for a job. It was that of a couple that recently got back from the States and needed her to come over to their house and cook liters of soups and stews for them. The pay was a really good one, and so Sade accepted. On getting there, Sisi introduced her to the madam of the house, Mrs. Akin. Mrs. Akin welcomed Sade warmly to her home and showed her to the kitchen where everything she needed to cook had already been sourced for. My husband is busy upstairs, but would soon come down. I would introduce him then, Mrs. Akin said to Sade and left. Sade got to work immediately and started cooking. By the time she was done and ready to go, she met the couple relaxing at their sitting room. She then walked up to them to let them know that she had finished and was ready to go. But what she saw almost made her faint. She had locked eyes with her teenage lover, Ayo, now Mr. Ayo Akin, the husband to Mrs. Akin. Sade recognized Ayo immediately she saw him, but this was not the case for Ayo, as he was busy on his phone while his wife was trying to introduce him to Sade. Sade immediately said her goodbyes and left in a hurry. She could not believe her eyes. What kind of man would leave his family to suffer and be enjoying such a luxurious lifestyle, she thought to herself. She was very disturbed about this and wondered if she really ever knew Ayo, because this act of his was pure evil. When she got home, she locked herself up in her room and cried bitterly. She reflected on all the suffering she had been through for Ayo, just for him to abandon her and her kids to marry another woman. She was disgusted at the evil and heartlessness of men. So she decided to avoid anything that would make her see Ayo again. 3 weeks later, however, Agent Sisi called her up saying Mr. and Mrs. Akin were holding a housewarming party and that they wanted her to come and cook for the event. Sade declined, refusing to tell Agent Sisi her reason. When Sisi told Mrs. Akin that Sade had declined her offer, she doubled the price, saying that Sade was the only chef she trusted in the community. Agent Sisi wasted no time in relating the updated price to Sade. This new price was very tempting, and so Sade accepted. I will try my best to stay out of the way so that Ayo doesn't see me, she thought to herself. Before the day of the housewarming party, Mrs. Akin requested to have a meeting with Sade based on the foodstuff list and plans surrounding the cooking. So Shade went, hoping not to run into Ayo. On getting to their house, she insisted on staying outside and not going into the house. Mrs. Akin did not want to push it, so she led her to a sit-out in her compound, where they sat and made plans. However, when Mrs. Akin excused herself to go grab some bottles of water, Ayo happened to be passing by, so he popped in from behind to say hello to Shade. On seeing Shade, he paused for a bit, staring at her, thinking to himself, this face looks very familiar. The thought did not last for 10 seconds as he called, Shade? Shade pretended to not know who that was and excused herself and left immediately. Ayo knew without doubt that that was Shade, his teenage wife. He could not believe his eyes. He was so shocked and dumbfounded. What a small world, he thought to himself. It had been a really long time and they had both grown and changed. He tried to reach Shade through Agent Sisi, but Sisi's agreement with her workers were against this, so she could not give out the information Ayo was asking of her. So, Ayo waited for the day of the housewarming party to speak with Shade. On that day, Shade was very busy cooking outdoors with her workers. Her kids begged her to go with her as that was on a weekend, but she refused solely because she did not want Ayo to see them and start looking to connect with them. But then, something happened. She forgot her signature stickers, and so she sent her cab driver to her house to go bring them from her kids. But instead of Shade's son, Toby, to give the stickers to the driver, he got into the cab with his sister and insisted on bringing the stickers themselves. When Shade saw them, she asked in surprise what they were doing there and insisted on them going back home immediately. But her kids were not having it. They were still going back and forth about this when Ayo appeared from nowhere. You should let them stay. They are most welcome to attend the party, Ayo said to Shade, who turned in surprise to see Ayo. Her heart started beating fast as she replied that they had schoolwork to do and so cannot stay. Ayo wanted to push it, but Shade insisted and sent her kids home, walking away from Ayo. Ayo got into his car and traced the cab driver to Shade's house, took note of the address and left. All his efforts to speak to Shade that night was futile as she kept avoiding and shunning him. 2 days later, Ayo came to Shade's house and knocked on the door. Toby opened the door for him, inquiring who he was looking for. Ayo said he was an old-time friend of his mom. When Toby told his mom about the old-time friend that was looking for her, she hesitated on going, but knowing that Ayo would not leave unless she spoke to him, she reluctantly went to meet him. They leaned on his car as they spoke. Why have you been avoiding me, Shade? Ayo began. Because I do not have anything to say to you, Ayo, Shade replied in disgust. Ayo asked if the boy that opened the door for him was his son. Shade replied that it wasn't his business. I and my kids stopped being your business the day you decided to ghost us for no reason, you devil. She spewed at Ayo, who looked so sad and apologetic. Shade, I am so sorry. I messed up big time. If I could take all those years back, I would. I was only a scared, cowardly teenage boy who made the wrong decisions and have regretted it from day one, Ayo said. Shade looked at him with so much disgust and anger. Let me ask you one question, Ayo. If you did not accidentally meet me just because I happen to be your chef, Would you have looked for me? For your kids? Shade questioned Ayo, who bent his head in shame, not uttering a word. I did not think so, Shade said. Please don't come looking for me or my kids again, Ayo. You are dead to us. So please, stay that way. Shade finished. She stormed out of Ayo, tears welling up in her eyes. Toby and Funke, who were eavesdropping in her conversation with Ayo, had so many questions for their mom. Shade had no choice than to tell them in tears her story from the beginning, how everything played out. She knew she could not deny her kids a relationship with their dad, if that was what they wanted, of course. So when Toby went, Mommy, I am so sorry you had to go through all that pain. But please, can I hear his side of the story? I would really love to hear them from him. I would love to know the reason why he left us when he did. Shade could not deny them that. She told them that they could speak to Ayo if they wanted to, but she does not want to have anything to do with him anymore. When Ayo got home that day, he was so down that his wife could not help but notice. She pressed him to tell her what the matter was and could not believe it when Ayo narrated the incident to her. She realized she did not really know who her husband was. She frowned so disgustingly at Ayo for being so selfish and leaving his pregnant wife and son behind, and never spoke about them or even thought of looking for them. Ayo apologized to his wife, and when she saw that he was genuinely sorry and wanted to make things right, she forgave him and gave him his support in his bid to make amends with his first family. Ayo went to Shade's house over and over, trying to get an audience with her to no avail. His kids were, however, quick to forgive him as they missed a father figure in their lives. He did not hold back in making them feel loved and gifting them with lots of luxury items. After about a month of Shade not speaking to Ayo, Ayo knew he needed help to get her to forgive him. So he begged his wife, Mrs. Akin, and Agent Sisi to accompany him this time to Shade's house to help him beg her to please forgive him and allow him to take care of her so that she can rest after working tirelessly all her life. So on that fateful Sunday, they drove to Shade's house and summoned her to the sitting room. As they opened already healed wounds that day, emotions were high. They all had sad and regretful tears welled up in their eyes. After everything, Shade decided to let go and forgive Ayo. From then on, it was bliss. She had peace of mind. Ayo spoiled her and the kids silly. In fact, he made papers for them and flew them abroad so that his kids would experience better education and better living. Finally, Shade was in her resting era as Ayo made so many investments in her name. She never had to work again for a day in her entire life. Life became so peaceful and sweet for all of them as they all coexisted happily ever after. And so, my friends, we have come to the very end of this story. I'm sure you enjoyed it. But I would like for you to share your thoughts or opinions or ideas in the comments. Let's converse and learn from each other. Please remember to subscribe, and I will see you in the comments shortly. Bye.